So please do the test. Most of the students have left also. Please don't leave the class in between. As I have asked you the previous class that what we shall start, whether we have to do the fourth unit, that is the compiler, or the macros still revision has to be done. So I didn't get any reply from the students. So I would like to continue with the with the compilers. The compilers, as you all know, I was been telling you about very long back the compilers. What is a compiler? Also, we have studied in the first unit the language processors. In the language processors, also I have shown you how the all the system softwares are used for the some glimpse I'll be taking from the language processors. So as we all know the language processors, in the first chapter we have studied all the list of the language processors and also the compilers. Then loaders and linkers we have studied in the first chapter, and we have studied so many gaps, that is the semantic gaps and the application gap, and the semantic gaps between the application and between the application and the execution. So we have come to know the semantic gap and the execution gap, and these gaps are filled by the language processors and the loaders and linkers, compilers, assemblers, and interpreters. So today we shall study about the compilers. So before going to the compiler also, let me tell you about the glimpse what we have studied in the earlier class. We have studied the earlier class the language processors. In that we have come to know how is the arrangement of the different system softwares, and how they are useful in executing the program, how they process the high level language to the object code to the machine language, and all the compilers, assemblers, loaders, linkers are useful in language processing. And today after that we have also studied about the assemblers, and in assemblers we have come to know how the assembler will take the assembly language and processes it into the and further goes for the processing of pass1 and pass2 and generates the object code. And also we have seen how the macros were useful for pre-processing of the code, that is the high level language itself. How does it, if macros are present in the high level language, if they are present, how they are going to be pre-processed, and after pre-processing they'll be the pre-processed high level, or the source code will be given for the compilers, and compilers will convert that into assembly language, and the assemblers will take the assembly language and further converts it into the object code. Here we have studied how does it and how the source program will be taken by the compiler, and after that it produces the assembly language, and this assembly language is given as input to the assembler and produces the object code, or the target code, and this target code or the object code is further converted into the executable file by using the linker, and this is further loaded into the memory. This executable file is further loaded into the memory for execution. So in this way, this was the arrangement of all the language processors, and we have seen all those things. And today we shall study about exactly the compilers, the fourth unit, exactly the compilers. How about the compilers? And in fourth unit, to talk more on compilers, as the compilers takes the high level language, uh, the first the source code is given to the preprocessor, which processes the macros using the macro, which processes the source code using, if macros are present, of course macros will be present using the preprocessor statement, and will be processed by the compiler. The preprocessed file will be processed by the compiler, and this compiler will produces the object code. This compiler will produces the object code. So we shall study today this part. We shall study today this part. That is the compilers. Yes, students, are you all understanding? Yes, Sanyogita, Sneha, Gauri,
Yes,
Kulkarni.
ma'am.
Thank you for your response. Please do acknowledge in between whenever I ask. Because if I go to the teaching window, I can't see how many people are viewing the lecture and how many are seeing my lecture. So, how many are understanding? You should answer me. Okay. Uh, Today I am telling about the compilers. Yes, Sanyogita, you know, Sanyogita, Sneha, Gauri, Sanika, Radhika. Today I want to deal with the compilers. And before dealing with the compilers, once again I have posted here the link, because most of the students have not answered the macros. So I will give you another 5 minutes to answer the macros. So you can answer the third chapter on the macros quiz, because as I have no, only few have answered. Okay, take still 5 minutes. Those are here. Those who have not answered can answer. Is that okay? Sanyogita, Vivita, Gauri, Pooja, Pratik, Rasika, Anisha, Shivani, Aparna. Yes, nobody is answering.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Did you do last time answer for macros? Rasika, did you understood macros? Sanyogita, Shivani, Vivita, Sneha, Gauri, Pooja. Have you understood macros? Okay, thank you. Pooja is answering in the form of text. Thank you, Pooja. Then today, are you aware that I'm handling with compilers? So who have not answered? last time quiz can use this link which I have posted now in the online class. So you can copy that link and get ready sorry, answer the quiz of the third unit, third chapter. Those who have answered, it is not required. Those who have not understood, you can, sorry, those who have not answered, you can use the above link and try to answer it now within 5 minutes. I'll give only 5 minutes. After that, I'll start the compiler. Before getting into the compiler, how the compiler is, what the compiler is, what are the language preprocessors we have studied. We have studied till now so far the language processings such as the assemblers and macros. Actually, first macros should be, then assemblers, then compiler, as per this figure. The author should have given, as per this figure, the author should have given first pre-processing, that is the macros, then assemblers here. Preprocessor, this is your source code, source program you are typing in some editor. It can be your high level language, Java or C++ language. So it has got, every language has got its own macros, and this macros passes through the preprocessor statements. It processes that program, source program, what all are included in the header files. See here, expanded macros. So those will get expanded and get ready for the compiler to be given, and they are ready for the object code generation. This object code generation is nothing but, it is an assembly program. It is an assembly program generated by the compiler. Now the compiler here will take the assembler. Now the compiler will take the assembler and produces the machine code, that is the object code. The best figure which I have written on my own handwritten, just I'll show you that, which I have used in during the time of the macros. So here you have a preprocessor source program with macros, macro preprocessor, and expansion of the macro will be done by the preprocessor statement for the source program, and after that it will be given to the compiler. Compiler produces the assembly language. After this assembly language, whatever is produced by the compiler, it will be given to the assembler. Now the assembler, what it does, it goes for the further conversion using the pass1 and pass2 scanners. Those are nothing but the algorithm of the assemblers, and they generate, and it generate the object code. This object code is nothing but the target code, and produces, and this further gives for the linker. Linker produces further executable file. Linker further produces the executable file and gives to the loader for loading into the memory. In the source program, there is a program with your macros like hash, preprocessive statements, all the preprocessive statements, whatever necessary statements which are used in the required program, that is the source program, and those source program are expanded using the macros. After expansion using the macros, we have seen in macros, again there is a pass1 and pass2. In macros, in pass1, what it does, it recognizes all the definitions of the macros, and in pass2, it recognizes all the macro calls. It recognizes all the macro calls and go for the expansion of the definition. Go for the expansion of the definition. After expanding the definitions in the source program, the source program will generate, source program will be generated, the assembly language program using the compiler, using compiler. So this pre-processed source program is given to the compiler. Now the compiler will, what it does, now it will take for syntactical analysis, now it will take for lexical analysis, syntax analysis, and it is ready for and it will ready for intermediate code generation. and it will, after code generation, it will produce the object code, that is the standard optimized code, and then it will be ready to execute in the memory. So the compiler, what part of the compiler, it has got two phases: analysis phase, synthesis phase. In analysis phase we have again three phases, that is lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis. These three phases are nothing but the compiler phases. So these three phases, after this also, after semantic analysis also, it produces the intermediate code. This intermediate code is up to here, it produces. First three phases are done by the compiler. So compiler produces the intermediate code. That intermediate code is nothing but assembly language here. That intermediate code is nothing but assembly language. And this intermediate code is given to the assembler. Assembler does pass one and pass two. Assembler, what it does? Pass one and pass two. During the pass one, it produces the intermediate code, and this intermediate code is given to the pass 2 for generation of the object code. The compiler, what it does? How is the phases of the compiler? Lexical analysis, syntax analysis, and semantic analysis. So first three phases are called as the front end phases, and the next three phases, which are intermediate code, optimized code, and the target code, these are nothing but the backend process, and this is also called as the synthesis phases. So is your test is finished? Let me check your test. How many students have been answered? Let me check. Only 52 students have answered. So remaining students, I should treat you as absent only. Only 52 have answered. Almost all got good scoring. All only 21 got 5, but 5, 6. So this still I should wait for the response. 52 have answered. Do I should wait for your response? How many is only 52 have answered? Answer from the please. Is 70 is the strength, so 12 students are absent. 18. Yes, Ashru Bhore. Another 5 minutes I will be giving. Please answer your test. Those who did not answer, please answer. Yes, all those who are here have answered the test. Only 52 know among your class strength. Yes, Ashru, Onkar, Prashant, yes, Rasika, Gaurav. Have you all answered? Yes, answer all the questions. For all the students, those who have not answered, please answer. Once again, I will pass the link. Those who came newcomer. I have told those students have not answered, please answer because only 53 students have answered. See the response. Only 53 students among the strength 70. Those who have not answered, answer the quiz. For newcomers, may not get the link. So this is what the link. Finished answering? 55. Still 13 students has to answer. Please log in, you inform your friends. At least they will get attendance. Okay, some students are leaving. I have given this time to answer. 57 have answered. So we were here as we were studying today the compiler. This part, as we have studied the macros. Also we have finished the assemblers. Now today we shall study about the compilers. So in compilers, it is very important for us to know the features like data types, data structures, and scope rules and control structures. So the data types, the type it is very important. This feature is very important during the time of the lexical analysis, and also it is very important during the time of the semantic analysis. So the data type and data type, also the data structure and scope rules and control structures. The data types, these are very important during the semantic analysis and the lexical analysis. Why it is very important? Why? Because type checking automatically it generates during the lexical analysis it generates an error, and if there is any mistake in the rule, so it checks according to the rule of the semantic, and that semantic forces the if any code is not written as per the rule, so it generates an error message. So that is nothing but what the rule is, scope rules of the feature of the compiler. And data types, this is very important for the semantic analysis, because based all the identifiers and the variables are recognized in the memory based on the data types, and these data types gives the particular allocation of the bytes for the identifiers or for the variables, so that they can take such number of bytes, and they can be utilized with those number of bytes for the program operation or the program task. So that is what it is very important feature. Data types and even the data structure, it is also an important feature of the compiler, where the programmer decides how the structure of a task, how the structure of the program should be implemented, how the structure of this task should be implemented. So here it is told to understand the key issues involved in implementing the aspects of the compiler, the feature of the programming languages such as data types, data structures, and scope rules. These are used between the semantic gap and between the programming domain and between the execution domain. Between the, as if you remember what we have studied in the language processing of the first chapter, there we have studied one semantic gap, and not only the semantic gap, we have also studied the execution gap, and these two gaps were between the application domain and between the execution domain. Means in between them there was a domain of the programming language domain, application domain programming language domain and execution domain. Application domain, programming language domain, and execution domain. So all these domains were given very important for the feature of the data types and data types, data structures, and rules, scope rules, scope rules. So I'll show you the first chapter what we have studied there. In first chapter we have studied the domains. So I'll just recall for your purpose, memory purpose. What gaps we have studied? We have studied two gaps. It is the execution domain gap. Before that, application domain. One was the semantic, and main two gaps were existing between three domains, that is application domain, then application domain and execution domain. Between those two gaps, we have studied the semantic gap. So I'll show you that picture of the first chapter where it was showing you. I'm not getting here where I have said. Yeah, this one. So we have studied specific two aspects of the programming language, that is two gaps, that is specification gap and execution gap. The specification gap which was existing between the application domain and programming language domain, that is nothing but the specification gap, and the gap which was existing between the programming language domain and execution domain, that was the gap called as the execution gap. So these two gaps gives more important for the four aspects, that is nothing but the data types, data structure, control structure, and even scope rules. So these scope rules uh, and these all the four features are very important, for the are very important for are very important in fulfilling the gaps of the specification gap and execution gap, because it all depends on choosing the programming language. It all depends on choosing the programming language. So these are that gap. So just I have shown you the glimpse. So how shall we go with the compilers? As you all know, the compilers are divided into several phases, six phases. The compilers are divided into six phases. So those six phases are nothing but, even that also I would like to show, that is the execution gap. That first figure I will just show here. Yeah. This analysis and synthesizes during these two. One was analysis of the source program was studied under the front end. It was called as the front end program, and whereas synthesis of the target program was called as the back end of the program. In analysis, we have studied three phases, that is the analysis phase, lexical analysis, syntax analysis, and semantic analysis. Lexical analysis, syntax analysis, and semantic analysis. And synthesis phase, we have studied about the intermediate code and object code, and the other one is other phase is called as the last phase, which is nothing but the target program generation. So that was under the synthesis phase. So this is all about the compiler phases. Just I will show you the figure how it is. I will show you the figure how is the figure of the compiler. So analysis phase and synthesis phase, those four features are required here. That is, those four features are required here. Data types, then not only the data types, and the control structure, data structure, and scope rule. So those four aspects, four features of the compilers are required for analysis phase and synthesis phase. So equally, they are very important in language processing. Why? Because the language processes based on the based on the features of the programming language. So the features of the programming language is data type and data structure, then scope rule, then another one is scope rule, and the other one is, that is nothing but the mm, control control structure. So those are very important here in language, making the choice of the language. Now once the language is made as the choice, so it is very important for us to make the choice of its compiler. So depending on the compiler, the language gets built. If the compiler is of the Java, so it will have the Java language based on that. And if the compiler is of the C or the C++, it will have the its own language feature. Well, all of the compilers will have the six phases. All of the compiler will have the six phases, and all the compilers will work on the four aspects of the four aspects features of the compiler. That is, four aspects features of the compiler are nothing but the data structures, data type, and scope rules and control structures. Scope rules and control structures. So these are very important. So in the next class, I will be showing about the in detail how is the data structure, how is the data type, and how is the control scope. Control structure and scope rule. So these all are very important for the language processors of the compilers. So how many of you have answered? Let me check now. Response is same. Please, have you answered? Please answer. 48 same students are there. Why other students are not answering? Can anybody talk? Why others are not answering? 62 have answered. Is please answer. Try to answer. Let me check whether you have answered. Remaining students, please answer. Only 62 have answered. Please answer. Onkar, are you there? Prashant, Onkar, Saloni. Yes. Madam, calculate lex or yeah, calc या ये दो फाइल्स के एनालिसिस रूल्स प्रैक्टिकली दिखाए ना. ओके, आई विल डू इट. नेट पे सेटिस्फेक्शन हो नहीं रहा है. ओके, ओनकार, could you please talk on your comment what you have given? Hello. ओनकार, hello. Okay, I will do it. But why are you not talking today? I need to show on Lexion Yak tool. हेलो ओनकार, वही टूल पे दिखाना है क्या? सी प्लस और सी लैंग्वेज, सॉरी नॉट लैंग्वेज, लाइनेक्स टूल पे दिखाना. लाइनेक्स नहीं तो यूनिक्स टूल पे. लाइनेक्स नहीं तो यूनिक्स टूल है तो, सॉरी नॉट टूल, लाइनेक्स और यूनिक्स प्लेटफॉर्म है तो वो लेक्सन याक का टूल वी कैन शो, वी कैन डेमोन्स्ट्रेट. लेक्सन याक टूल, ये दोनों टूल लाइनेक्स नहीं तो यूनिक्स प्लेटफॉर्म में आएंगे. जीसीसी पे विंडोज क्लास में हूँ. श्योर है इंस्ट्रक्शंस का. पे या फिर लाइनेक्स. GCC applies in Linux or Windows, okay, and some will take CC, some tools will take GCC, okay, but these GCC and CC will apply on Linux or Unix tool only. They will not be applied on Windows. Okay, GCC will not be applied on Windows. In Windows we can only compile, like turbo C run करो compile करो, बस उसको वैसे ही रहता है विंडोज में. लाइनेक्स नहीं तो, सॉरी लाइनेक्स या यूनिक्स पे हम लेक्सन याक टूल यूज कर सकते हैं. ओके, सेम लेक्सन याक टूल उसका मिमिक टर्बो सी में कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, आप जो बोल रहे हैं वही वो भी करेंगे. बट वाई यू आर नॉट स्पीकिंग ओनकर? हिना इन ओनकर, आई एम नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग. Actually, the thing is that I don't have the tool of Lexan Yak in my Linux. I will demonstrate by taking the help of the lab. A output file. हाँ, देता है विंडोज में आउटपुट फाइल. Yes, output file you will be getting na. Okay, it's my responsibility. Once I need to show you the Linux or in Unix, the tool of Flex or Lex. Okay, I will just do one or two program, but I need to go to that lab in college. I need to go to that lab या फिर Linux पे से आप ठीक समझे. Onkar, could you please talk? No, it will be more clear. आज बच्चे क्यों आंसर नहीं कर रहे? उनका आपको पकड़ के भी, और टेस्ट भी कोई भी नहीं लिख रहे। कितना मैं बोल रही हूँ, 63 बच्चे कर रहे टेस्ट। ये सुनकर क्षमा चाहता हूँ मैडम, लेकिन क्लास में ही हूँ। शोर है इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स का, इसलिए। ओके ओके। हाँ। ओके, योर मैसेजेस। Okay, students. Your responses are only 63. And later you should not tell, ma'am, I have not written the answers of third. Okay. As let it be. I'll continue my class of the compilers, and also I will go with your suggestions that I need to take in Lexan tool, and I need to show some commands over there in Lexan. The problem is that in my laptop I don't have Lexan tool. It requires the Unix or Linux platform. So in that Unix or Linux platform, I'll try to show. I'll arrange for the lab in lab in college lab session. I'll take one session in Unix or Linux platform. True, I agree with that. I will go with that. So now let me go back to my compilers where I have stopped. So I was been telling you about, just recall your previous class of the first unit of the language processor, what we have studied there. In first unit of the language processor, we have studied there the two gaps, that is semantic gaps and execution gap between the application domain, programming language domain, and also execution domain. Between these three domains, we have come to know the two between these three domains we have come to know the two gaps, that is specification gap and execution gap. These two gaps yield to the feature of data type, data structure, and also the, and one more is, that is nothing but the control structure. So these four aspects, or these four features of the gaps are very important for a compiler, so that how does it processes. Here in this compiler also we are studying again the compiler, what we have studied in language processors. The same thing we are also going to study, how does it does the specification and how does it executes. In specification, what we have, what the example we have studied, like form filling. Here also we will be studying about like the same example of the form filling, and also we will be studying about not only the form filling, the arrangement of the arrangement of the compiler for execution. Up to the compiler gives you the assembly language, it accepts the high level language and gives you the assembly language. Up to there, the feature of the compiler is been studied. Here this compiler becomes very easy for you. Why? Because we have already studied in first chapter, language processors. In language processors, the compiler is the one which was shown you the full arrangement of the system software up to the language assembly language. It accepts high level language. How it accepts high level language? In the sense, in two ways. In two ways. One is in the form filling example, and the other one is all your programming languages to do any software, or sorry, to do any project we do in we do in high level version of the softwares. So using those high level languages we do some softwares. So in the previous class, during the period of the unit 1, I have shown you the example of the password construction or the password building. The password used to as we give the question to the coder, the give me a password for some form filling, or give me a password project, means he started doing the password based on his own, without having much more restriction. Once the password project came into use or came into execution, that time so many queries, so many drawbacks started coming out, like password should be of 8 characters and it should obey the only this much, and it should have only all the alphanumeric characters. So in this way, the user started, the customer started his questioning on the constructed password. So that constructed password was rejected, and there came into existence in between the PL program domain. So the PL program domain used to take PL program used to convey the same message of the password construction or the password building project. So you, from the specification given, and it will convey a clear cut idea or the proper understanding idea to the coder, and coder builds the, and developer builds the password based on the given instructions, based on the given requirement, and it goes for the execution domain. So here we have come to know, in that code building only we have come to know how should be the data type, how the compiler should obey. So compiler will obey based on the three phases, that is lexical analysis, syntax analysis, and semantic analysis. So all these phases will obey the four features. What are those four features? Those four features are nothing but, here I have shown in I mean file. The four features are nothing but data types, data structures, scope, rules, and control structure. To understand the key issues involved in implementing the aspects of how to generate the code and from the source program during the time of the execution domain, and also provide a diagnostic for a violation of the programming languages, means the programming language should have some certain rule, that is nothing but the semantic. It should generate a proper meaning. So based to understand such a to understand such a meaningful language, the language processor should have these features, that is data types, data structures, and the control structures. So the data types, how, why the data type is required, how will be the data type specification, you all know. We all have studied in lower classes. Data type specification is very important. Why? Because it violates the conditions of the illegal. Like it should have first the data type, then the variables. So any legal values for the variables will not be, any illegal values for the variables will not be accepted. So here only the legal values will be running within the scope of the program. So those legal values will be running within the scope of the program. Who are those legal values? So those must be given as the specification, that is nothing but the data type, that is the legal values for the variables of the type, variables of the type, like int, character, float, or any other data type. Once they are legally agreed that this is the data type, so they can be ruined they can be ruined throughout the program, means they can be used throughout the program. So such data type will also generate the semantics. Semantic in the sense proper meaning of that data type. So how semantic of the data type require a compiler to ensure that the variables of the type are assigned or manipulated only through legal operations. So through legal operations only by using if there is any wrong in the missing the semicolon, comma. So if there is any wrong, so that time that time the compiler forces an error message, so that the programmer will have a precaution that here it is missing something. So that is nothing but it's a rule, or it's a duty to give us the alert message for the programmer. So checking the legality of an operation for the type of the operand, for the type of the operand, and this type versions operations of the operations to convert the values of one type into values of the another type. So all these are permissible. I mean, again further we have so many different conversions from integer to float. These all methods, you know how to convert them, and if you use within those limits. So for example, if the value is given as integer but you are giving the float, means it, what does it does, if it will generate an error. But if you are so it should have a broader scope of the data type. But at the same time, if you are giving the value in integer, but you have declared in float, it will accept. Why? Because the scope is very wider. How it will accept? Because it may have it may do by giving the floating value with the decimal values, like 00. But if you're giving in integer, sorry, and the declared data type is integer, but if you are giving the value in float, so it may truncate the rest floating values. So in this way it will check for the semantic of the data types by the compiler. So this is the example. Like consider the example. So this example, how does it checks for the data type. It will check for the data type whether the variables used in the program in this segment are what type, whether they are real or integer. Here I is declared to be as integer and a and b are declared to be as real. But here a to the real we have combined we have combined both the combinations of the statements or the values, that b is real and I is integer. So what it would give you, it will take the value of the integer and it will take the value of the real and it will give you the value in terms of real. It will give in value in terms of real. Why? Because the scope here is real for a, it is wider. Real for a, it is wider. So data structure remaining, it will be overloaded today, everything to take, because you have done test and also the class means it will be overloaded and most of the students are not responding. So data structure I will handle in the next class, the other four features. So today the compiler is being started and it is related with your first chapter. And if and this compiler which is related with the first chapter, so we shall study the or what the gaps we have studied in the specification gaps, the screen handling example what we have seen here, and also the different programming language executions, that is all the arrangements of the compiler, assemblers, loader, linkers we have seen here. And this would give the arrangement to the compiler for execution of the program. So here we have studied in this part the execution gap and the specification gap. In specification gap, it is very important what type of specification the customer gives to the coder or the developer. So that both are very different here. And any program to be any project to be done or to be developed, so all the system softwares are useful or used for execution of the task or execution of the project. So here the first chapter is in useful for the compilers. So only a small part I have initiated today. Remaining part, or once again I may repeat the compiler, because this compiler here it is not here it is not only important to study only the phases of the compiler. Phases of the compiler are analysis and synthesis phase. In analysis phase, we will be studying only lexical analysis, syntax analysis, and semantic analysis. Whereas in synthesis phase, we have studied already the intermediate code and optimization code, code optimization, and code generation, that is the target code generation. So all these three features are working at the front end. So front end, and the front end is the first analysis phase and back end is the last three phase. The last three phases are nothing but the here we have studied the last three phases are nothing but the synthesizes phase. The last three phases of the compiler are nothing but the synthesizes phase. And one thing you should remember, that compiler takes high level language and produces the zero and produces the low level language, machine understandable language, that is it produces the assembly language. From the assembly language, now it is given to the assembler will take that assembly language. And I am sure that I will go with Lex and Yak plan. One of your classmates has proposed to show an example in Lex and Yak tool. So I will be showing you an example of the Lex and Yak tool, and most of the students have not answered today. I don't know why they are not showing any interest. Uh, and not even talking also, not even conveying any message. Only you people are writing, sorry, texting me. So give your answers or attendance. One.
Present.
Present, ma'am.
3, 4, 5,
Present, ma'am.
6,
Present, ma'am.
7,
Present, madam.
8,
Present.
9,
Present, ma'am.
10.
Present.
Am I audible for all of you? Am I audible? 10 who has
Yes, ma'am.
answered?
Yes, madam. 10 present.
Okay, okay. But today, why nobody is showing any interest? Nobody told me anything. And most of the students are not answering also, in spite of telling they have answered on forcing. They have answered up to 63 responses are there only, where the strength is 70. Well, the macros were very easy to answer. Most of the almost 7 students are absent for the test. Okay, whatever. Again, please don't ask that I have not answered, ma'am. 9, 10.
Present. Roll number 9 present, ma'am.
Okay, okay. 11,
11 present, ma'am.
12,
Present, ma'am.
13,
Present, ma'am.
14, 15,
Present, ma'am.
16,
Present, ma'am.
17, 18, 19.
Present, ma'am.
19 present, ma'am.
18
Hmm.
present, ma'am.
Okay. 20,
Present, ma'am.
21, 20. Have you heard my class today? Sonia. Sonia.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you understood?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
Today only a small part I have told, which is very similar to first chapter, compiler,
Hmm.
which accepts the high level language and converts to low level language. Only 4 feature of the compiler I have told, which
Uh-huh.
fulfills the gap, that is specification gap and semantic gap. These both will have the 4 features, that is data types, data type, and data structure, control structure, and scope rule. Today only data type I have told. In next sessions I will not finish, I may cover the scope rule, or I may cover the data structure, rest 3 feature of the compilers. The
Yeah. Okay, ma'am.
features depends on these 4 features depends on the semantic gaps, and it also depends on the analysis. It also depends on the specification gaps. These 2 gaps which I have told in language processor, if you people remember, from application domain to PL domain. PL is nothing but programming language domain. There one gap exists, that is the semantic gap. Sorry, that is the specification gap. And from programming language to execution domain, another gap exists, that is the execution gap. Okay, just all of you recall that what I have studied, what we have studied in the first chapter, and that first chapter also was repeated, and the handwritten notes also were given, and even for the macros also I have provided the handwritten notes. And if you have any query, any doubt, because you people have not told me that whether shall I start the compilers or not, but still I have done on my own. And if you have any doubt in the previous chapters like macros, today one of your classmate has told me to do on the Lexan Yak tool in platform, Linux or Unix platform. Surely I will do because it is not available with my system. But one fine day I will show one program on Lexan Yak. Okay. 21, 22, 23, 24,
Present.
25,
Present, ma'am.
26,
Present, ma'am.
27,
Present, ma'am.
28,
Present, ma'am. 28.
29,
Yes, ma'am.
30, 31, 32,
Present, ma'am.
33. हाँ हाँ
Present, ma'am.
ओके. 30, 34, 34,
Present.
35,
Present, ma'am.
36,
Yes, ma'am.
37, 37,
Present, ma'am.
38,
Present, ma'am.
39, 40,
Present, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
41, 42, 43,
Present, ma'am.
44,
Present, ma'am.
45.
Present, ma'am.
Okay. 46,
Yes, ma'am.
47,
Yes, ma'am.
48.
Ma'am, she's having a network issue.
Okay.
She's
49.
present.
Mm-hmm.
Present,
49,
ma'am.
50,
Present, ma'am.
51,
Present, ma'am.
52, 53, 54,
Present.
55, 56, 57.
56 present.
Hmm. Okay. 58,
Yes, present, ma'am.
59,
Present, ma'am.
60, 61,
Present, ma'am.
62, 63,
Present, ma'am.
64,
Present, ma'am.
65,
Present.
66,
Present.
67, 68,
Present.
69,
Present.
70.
Present.
Okay, absentees
70
are
present. Hello, ma'am. Roll number 3 present.
uh, okay, absentees are 4, 7, 14, 17, 21, 22, 23, 29, 30, 40. Sorry, 30.
4 present, ma'am.
Wait.
Ma'am, 29 is present.
Ma'am, 40 is also present.
Ma'am, 23.
No. Wait. I'm telling. Okay. Not 40, 30, 41, 61, 62, 67.
23 is present, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
7 is
Ma'am,
present,
29
ma'am.
also. Ma'am,
But
4
29.
also.
I have removed. 4 is present now. Now 7, 14, 17, 21, 22, 30,
Ma'am,
41.
hello.
Hmm. Huh.
14 is present, but she has network problem.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
7 is present, ma'am.
But I. Okay. Hmm. But if you all are present, who is that absent student for a test? See here, 73. Still 7 students are absent. Hmm? Who has not answered? Please answer. Test is also very important. Finally, you will get this marks also. No? Only 63 students have answered for test. This makes very poor strength. First time I am seeing. Always you people used to answer quickly. But today, why nobody is answering? Why is there any campus today? Is there any other session going? Hello?
No, ma'am.
Huh? Is there any other session going?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Then who is that 7 students are have not done inspire? From the beginning, I have given the gap, and in between, I used to teach. Nobody is. I mean, even on forcing, it has come to 63. Sonia, have you answered? Okay, now I will close the link. Inform your friends. Still 5 minutes. I will extend. I'll close the link now.
Madam, 7 is present.
Okay, I didn't. I have removed. I said na 7. I'm talking about test now. I told test. Nobody is answering. On forcing, it has come to 63. Still 7 students are not answering. 70 is the strength, no?
Okay,
Still,
ma'am.
yeah, yeah. Still
Okay,
7
ma'am.
stud. Yeah, yeah. Have you answered roll number 7? Have you answered the test? Hmm?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Th- I will close the link. Thank you.